Hi everyone, in this week's Crystal Room quest, I'll be tackling Quina's intersecting view stage, which is the two giant toads. This is a reroll on a stage. This week we actually got Hell House, and I wanted to reroll because I already did Hell House when Crystal Room launched anyway, and I didn't want to use Rains again. I wanted to actually level another crystal color. For reference, the route that I'm taking with the Crystal Room is unlocking every crystal's U2 passive first, and so far I've already done the green crystal and black crystal, which is also why I'm not using Quina here. Although this is his stage, I wanted a different crystal color, so instead of Quina I went with blue, and that's because blue crystals have both Ursula and Neon, both of which work really great on this stage mechanics. Core rounds out the party as the often damage dealer as well to supplement damage throughout the fight. For this stage, you don't need Core's BT. If you don't have his BT, then just link him to Neon should be sufficient. But the BTs on Ursula and Neon are more or less required for this stage to run. So quickly about this stage, first of all, the key mechanic here is that at every 20% HP, starting from 100%, the bosses will battery themselves to max brave and will also grant themselves 3 framed buffs as well. When this happens, they greatly resist brave damage, and essentially you'll be hitting for once, and you need to actually break them to dispel the buffs. But this is where Neon comes in. Due to the fact that she allows everyone to do rainbow damage, it isn't an issue breaking them. The only drawback about this party is the lack of a force gauge charger, so this run is going to be a little bit slower than my typical runs due to the fact that I need to gradually charge the force gauge. I don't have any force gauge charger with access to echoes, and I didn't really want to use someone like Kral on this stage where you could enter force time earlier but you lose out on a lot of damage by using Kral as opposed to either Ursula or Core. So I made the decision to just gradually charge up the force gauge. The other key mechanic on this stage is the boss's force time, and without a force gauge charger, it is more than likely that they will hit force time before you. There are 2 additional effects in play when they enter force time. The first is that they have an additional 100% brave damage resistances, which essentially means that you'll be hitting for 1 brave damage per hit. But this is where Neon comes in. She doesn't care about that, and you'll be hitting for rainbows regardless of that. The other effect though is that when the enemies are in force time, you cannot grant yourself new buffs. The way that I get around that is to simply make sure that I apply all the buffs that I want before they enter force time. The buffs that these 3 grant should last long enough at least for you to close out the fight before they expire, and that's the whole crux of the strategy here. So they've just entered force time, and therefore no new buffs can be granted. And you can see here I spent some time thinking about what to do with Ursula, and I ended up using her Tenshoha. During the enemy's force time, while you're still setting up your force gauge, it is actually quite important to spam Tenshoha every time Ursula gets her turns as such. This is because Tenshoha actually extends all her buffs by 1 turn, which essentially means that anytime Ursula uses that attack, her buffs will not tick down, which helps you last her buff at least to near the end of the fight. Also, regarding the BT pluses that I use here, I use Core fairly early because I wanted to buff his Oath of Absolute Defense on both characters before the bosses enter force time. But for Neon and Ursula, as you can see, ideally what you want to do is hold off on their BT plus until you are somewhere above 50% on your force gauge. This is to prevent their BT auras from burning out too early, particularly because both Neon and Ursula are characters that can take multiple turns, and if you pop their BT plus too early, there is a risk that their BT plus aura will sort of burn out before you can go into FRBT mode. Lastly, regarding the boss's attacks, there are 2 key attacks here that will deal HP damage. The first is their force time attack, and the other is when they're targeting all. When this happens, they will do AoE HP damage, and it wouldn't hurt too much if you are buffed with Chorus buff of absolute defense, because that buff actually increases your defense by a whopping 80%, and it plays a huge part in mitigating damage on this fight. As you can see, I have everyone buffed with the defense up, and the attack from the boss essentially does 0 HP damage. On hindsight here, it might be better to use Ursula's force time as the main force time, because her conditionals are really very generic and easy to meet. So that's certainly one option that you can use. Instead, on this run I went for Neon's force time as the main force. That was the route I took because I was sort of thinking, I'm entering Neon's PT mode, might as well use her as the main force time. But I was not considering the conditionals of Ursula's force time, which is very generic and would probably result better on this run. Now that you're in force time, it's pretty simple. What I do is one round of echoes with Core and Ursula, and then on Neon's turn I enter BT mode. I only use one echoes with Ursula. You could do two because her echoes are instant turn, but I was thinking of saving one more for the later part for the fight when I pop summon. I'm not entirely sure whether that's a smart choice to make. Yes, you can use her FR when you're at the later part of the fight where you're at a higher force bonus percentage, but using it early also means that you build a good base of force bonus before Neon enters PT mode. So there are pros and cons to this. Also, this is why I mentioned that Ursula's force may be better as the main force, because here the use of Tensho Heart only increased the bonus by 23%, which is really a waste in my opinion. Neon's PT mode is pretty straightforward. There was one mistake that I did here. I sort of wasted her S2 and I used the free skill uses on her S1. Since there are two enemies here, I think it's better off that you just use her S1 and then use her S2 when you have free skill users after her EX. The way to get the most out of Neon's PT mode is to use her EX early on, because her EX grants her 2 free skill users. I could have pop summon here, but I got a bit greedy and I thought maybe I just use 1 echoes first and build a force gauge before I pop summon. And because of this, it got me thinking that, you know, if before Neon's PT mode, if I use Ursula's second echoes, then I would probably deal much more damage in Neon's PT mode, and then I can come out of PT mode at 900+% force bonus and immediately pop summon. Now that I'm finally at 99%, it's time to pop summon. And pretty much round up the fight by spamming the last of the echoes on Core and Neon.
想定済みだ。
いざ尋常に
行くぞ。
全力を尽くします。よし、
承知。
やってやる。
That's it for this fight. As always, I hope the videos be helpful, and if you enjoyed the content, do leave a like, comment and subscribe because it really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next Crystal Room mission. Bye!